What if the life you keep thinking about isn't something you wait for, but something you walk toward? This one feels like sitting across from someone who just gets it. No performance, no pretending, just a real conversation about going for it before you feel ready. Hello, friends, and welcome to Radical Joy, the weekly practice of fighting for your light. In a world tuned to worry, this is our space to find a different signal, to discover the grounded, defiant, and yes, radical power of choosing joy. Hey, a vital reminder, you are never alone. Dial 988 in the US for the Mental Health and Suicide Crisis Hotline. It's a lifeline anytime. This is Season 4. Let's begin. Our guest, Mike Chisholm, is a podcast host, author, and storyteller who believes that healing, growth, and joy often begin with honest conversation. He is the host of HeCast, the official podcast of He Changed It, where he shares meaningful discussions around men's mental wellness, resilience, and personal growth. He also hosts the Letterman podcast, a celebration of the greatest body of broadcast work in history, that of David Letterman and Company. Mike is the co-author of She Changed Me, One Ordeal, Two Perspectives, written with his wife Candace, and in his professional life serves as a senior marketing director with World Financial Group. Whether behind a microphone or working with people one-on-one, Mike is drawn to what is real, hopeful, and transformative, which is why we are thrilled to welcome Mike Chisholm to Radical Joy.
James, I'm so excited to be here. I love when in my podcast life we can do kind of the professional do-si-do where someone guests on my show and then I can go and guest on their show. To me, that is a very cool experience. And with what Radical Joy is doing, man, you are a light in this world. And I just want to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come on this show and bask in that light. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.
It's always a joy, bud. I tell you, whenever we recorded on your podcast platform a few weeks ago, I was so excited that we got a chance to come back and do this so quickly. Usually there's some turnaround time, but to have you back on Radical Joy as quickly as I was on HeCast thrills me because, like you said earlier, it feels like there was a pretty quick connection, pretty deep one formed relatively fast. And to
Yes.
have someone who is so well aligned, someone who gets what it is we're trying to do here and has as enthusiastic a voice in supporting it, uplifting it, and amplifying it, it's just always nice to have that sort of combat buddy, I guess, because it almost does feel like we're in trenches sometimes. We try to keep it light, and it's also serious work. Like we're here to do the work to make sure that we continue to put out the good vibe so those who are feeling a little less than their best can hopefully get on top with us and ride the wave in.
Yeah, I mean, when you were on the show, we talked about. I'm fascinated by you, and part of the reason is because I can kind of see or feel echoes of the way that I'm wired. And one of the ways that I'm wired is I always love to kind of raise the vibration. I love to raise the vibration of people around me. I've always been that guy, a little bit misunderstood because of that. And so whenever I meet somebody who is that, who has that capability and those characteristics as well, I'm immediately drawn to it. You certainly fit that bill. Plus, your voice is just melodic. I'm just glad that I can listen to your voice again. Man, alive, you have a way of articulating and verbalizing that I just, it's not envy, it's inspiration. And so I appreciate that very, very much. And yeah, like you say, I love I've got a podcast studio in my house. And because of that, I can usually react very quickly. And the moment I saw that you had availability in your recording schedule, I was like, yes, let's do this again. Brothers from another mother in so many ways, and it's just so great to be here.
Absolutely. No, and I love it because we do have quite a bit of time difference between the two of us. There's about 9 hours. So for Mike, he's up at the crack of dawn today, getting a jump on his day. And you said something to us before we hit the record button. It's like, I want to set us off on a great foot for whatever else we have going for the rest of our professional day or just day in general. And having you here, whenever I saw that you were the first on the lineup today, I was like, oh, Yes, I've got 3 podcast episodes and 3 guests today, and whenever I heard that you were first, I'm like, "Absolutely. This is the
Yeah,
way." If
this
I
is
may,
the
I'd
way.
love to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I dig that. I dig the "This is the way" reference. That's
Hey,
fantastic. Yeah, no. It's a great way to start my day. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna leave here today. I love the days where I have 2 or 3 guests. Those are fantastic, and I love it. But today, I'm not recording. Tomorrow's a recording day for me. Today, I'm going to my office to do my regular job, thing that pays me the money, and this is just a phenomenal way to start the day. I know that I'm going to go into my day with a huge roll of momentum. And
nice.
and isn't that exactly what we want? And I hope people who are listening to this today, I hope that the momentum for them accelerates. And if it wasn't a good day, I hope that can shift because everything is temporary. So, but yeah, I'm grateful for the start time. As soon as I saw that this was one of the available start times, I'm like, yes, that's the time I want.
Yeah, because I love a morning. I do. I thoroughly enjoy it because if you get a right start on it, it really, like you said, it rolls into the rest of the day. And something that we had talked about while I was with you on HeCast, I would love to sort of explore a little deeper with you. So many of these experiences that you've gotten to do just came from being brave and just walking right into the middle of it. That has been a theme for my life for the last month. It continues to ping every time something like that sort of just presents itself. We're not necessarily fatalist around here, but I do like to follow the fact that as long as I'm leading with love and strength and bravery, that the chances are good that things are going to kind of fall into place. If not necessarily what I expected, definitely something that's to my benefit. So now I know you have a similar sort of vibe in that respect. And I know that some of the things that you have going on are incredibly impressive. Where are those intersections in just being the faithful to know that the universe is going to take care of so many things so well for you? And just lending yourself to it, giving yourself over to it. That's not the easiest thing in the world. Would you mind maybe sharing a little bit of your experience with that with us?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, for whatever reason, I since I was a kid, I gave myself permission to move in the direction of whatever it is that I was passionate about in a deeper way. I think part of it, I don't know if it. I'm a collector. I collect things. I've always collected things, and so if I got into a hockey team, I would love to get something that was used in one of the hockey the games. I'm a huge Los Angeles Kings fan, and I've got a bunch of game used jerseys and pucks and things like that. And it wasn't that I came from money. I didn't come from money at all. But I always just found that if you stepped out and asked for something, so if I would go down to, I mean, again, I'm Canadian, so the first time I saw the Los Angeles Kings play in Los Angeles, I was in my 30s, but they would come to Vancouver to play as a visiting team. And I would go down by the bench, 15, 16 years old, and I would look at the trainer and I would just do this. I would put my fingers up in the form of a puck. And of course, they'd flip over an official LA Kings puck to me or whatever. I was that guy. And I would always give myself permission to get it, to be bold and to get into whatever it was that I was into. If it was a musician coming to town, I'd be one of the kids hanging out backstage or where the stage door is in hopes of meeting it. And the net result now is I'm 50 and I can say that I have met most of my entertainment heroes or many of my entertainment heroes and these people that I look up to and am inspired by. And a huge part of it is just giving myself the permission to go and say, why not me? And you talked about being brave. Courage and bravery is one of those things where you can act if you have faith, and faith will be given to you. If you just literally fake it till you make it, if you literally just say, I deserve to be here, I'm supposed to be here, and you be bold, good things happen. And I think that in our society, this just my whole life growing up, I've always found that it's low hanging fruit. There's a lot of people who hang back and they don't give themselves permission to go for the things that they want. And yeah, I've done that. And one of the things that I feel too, I think we talked about this on HeCast, I'm always trying to impress the 19-year-old version of myself. If I can do something that the 19-year-old version of me would go, holy cow, like I'm 50 now, and the laundry list of things that if I were to go and tell the 19-year-old version of myself that I have experienced, he would look at me and go, you're you're living one of the best lives ever. And that's not to say that there's not adversity. There's tons of adversity. There's tons of setbacks. There's tons of heartbreak. But boy, when you look at the wins compared to the losses, my gosh, it's a championship life. And so,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
The way you describe that is perfect. I love that. It's like, hey, you know what? Things I love about having guests on the show is they'll say something that will just ping so deeply in my guts. I'm like, yes, thank you for saying that because you're going to have those L's no matter what. Life's
Oh
going to
yeah.
toss you some losses. They're coming. Get ready for them. They're some of the best teaching moments you could ever hope to have. Those are lessons you don't forget because they hit harshly. We discussed that whenever I was on HeCast. Why in the world would you not, knowing that, move forward looking for every W you could possibly put into your parcel before getting across to the L zone again? It just makes sense. And especially if it's one of those things where if you approach it with confidence, if you ask for it without timidity, I think that's one of the biggest signs to the universe. You're like, I deserve this. I'm not trying to be entitled. What I'm trying to say is this is not a big deal to ask. I put a lot of good into the world, respectfully, with humility, but I do honestly try to put good in the world. So asking for a puck or asking for a handshake or a selfie with some of the most exciting names in entertainment, rock and roll, however you want to look at it, not that big an ask. It's not that big an ask.
It's not, and it's also the mentality going in. Talking about the losses for a second. They're necessary, and they're necessary because of perspective. You don't know radical joy if you don't know radical sorrow. But which world do you choose to live in? Which world do you choose to strive for? Which road do you choose to drive? The perspective is so necessary, and many times, like I think it's a Chinese proverb, or not Chinese proverb. It's a opportunity where setback and opportunity are the same word. And boy, is that ever the truth. When there is a setback, and sometimes it can be a big one. It could be it could be an epic event of like a relationship cratering or a bankruptcy or something like that. But you look at how many of the successful people in this world, the really successful people, have also experienced radical failure at a certain time in their life. That many times is the springboard that will set them on that path again to this thing that we do strive for, which is that radical joy. Just to go back to meeting some of these people and whatnot, I was given a very cool piece of advice. I went to a concert. I think it was Faith No More. I think maybe, but I forget which one it was. But it was down in Vancouver, which is a 400-kilometer drive from where I live. It's about 4 hours from where I live, and that was kind of my stomping grounds when I was a kid for musical acts. And I was behind the alley of a very, very famous Vancouver venue called the Commodore Ballroom. It's my favorite venue for music ever, and I've been to a lot, but that one there in particular is my favorite one. And I was back there with some friends. We were hoping to meet the band. Pretty sure it was Faith No More. And as we're back there, there's this old guy, and by old guy, he was probably like 40. Okay, he
Right.
wasn't, but to a teenager, that's ancient, right? And
Sure.
so as we're back there, he looked at me, and somebody had said that old quote, "Hey, don't ever meet your heroes; they'll always leave you disappointed." And this guy was back there. You could tell that he had met a lot of musicians and people. He was a big music guy, and we were just kind of listening to him. As many times there's downtime when you're waiting for the opportunity to arise. Many times there's downtime, and success leaves clues. And so he would look at us and go, "No, no, 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 that's not what it is, guys. Seriously, meet your heroes. Meet the people that you've always dreamt of meeting. Here's the thing: have zero expectation. If you have zero expectation, because you may meet them on a bad day, they may not jive with you from a vibration standpoint." He didn't say that back then, but that's my interpretation of it now. I use that word a lot. They might be, you never know, but have zero expectation for them and just enjoy the experience that you get to meet somebody. And even if they had a bad day, look at it with a chuckle. Don't think, oh, you'll never leave yourself an opportunity to be disappointed by that. And that has served me very, very well throughout my life, including meeting David Letterman. When I met him a couple of times, as in those of the Letterman podcast, he's universally known for being a little bit prickly.
Sure.
And not in my experience. In my experience, it wasn't like that at all. And so I always throw it out there and say, yeah, that be bold part, be enthusiastic about it. Don't be nervous about it because they're just people, and have zero expectation. Because if you have expectation, many times you will miss out on opportunities that show up. You got to have that little area where you give the universe a chance to blow your mind. And in my experience, many times it does.
Yeah. Agree. She'll come at you like barrels blazing, and I love that so much. I think the thing that you said there that really rings true for me is like try to enter into it with enthusiasm without expectation. One
Yeah.
E, not the other E. It's like, okay, yeah. A good friend of mine here, he he is looking to have intimate relations with a very attractive woman so that he can sort of destroy this fantasy in his mind of being with this very attractive woman and find someone who is still very attractive to him, but not necessarily the 10 in the looks department, but the 10 in the total package, so that he can destroy the fantasy. And I think that I think on one hand, that's a brilliant way to go about it. And I think that it can apply to a lot of other things that aren't quite perhaps so difficult to look at. It's like that seems a little harsh to say. And he says, but no, please understand. I'm not trying to use anything. He says that I think that my brain is stuck on something of an expectation where what I would prefer to have is someone who is wonderful and smart and engaging and warm and funny and beautiful, all of those things. But until I can get past my own hang up of wanting to be with this like top tier in just the physical attractiveness part, I'm going to have a hard time seeing the rest of it in a future long-term partner. I said, okay, that sounds somewhat better. And then we continue to apply that to a lot of other things as well, where I have a fantasy about this is what I expect from my life. And is this the expectation that I put there, or is that something that someone else has planted that I continue to cling to in order to define my own success? Or do I need to just reach this thing so I can finally just destroy it, knock it out of the water, and then go for what really defines my own success now? The snapshot of who I am now and what I currently define success to look like. And it feels really good to take that unusual perspective and apply it to other things. Like, again, we approach it, we want it, and we try to diminish or eliminate that expectation as best we can to take it from a very baseline to see where it goes. Is it going higher? Is it going lower? Either way, I'm just here for the trip and not necessarily see how high or low it can go.
I this this is a discussion point that would be phenomenal for HeCast. Oh my gosh, diving into because men, like, it's a men's mental wellness podcast, and we kick around all sorts of different subjects. The idea of men intrinsically, primally being the hunter, the person that wants to nail things off the list. No pun intended when it comes to this example. They want to we want to accomplish things and then move on to that next thing. I appreciate the fact that he's being so open and honest about that. Like,
Very
vulnerability
candid.
is one of those things, transparent, the whole nine yards. And it would be very, very interesting to see if he's able to be that transparent, and respectful with her when it comes to that. Let's assume he can. Let's assume the best of things and that he can, and then we can really explore the example. Because to me, it's like, okay, I want to get this out of the way. And if it's something where somebody's feelings and things like that may not necessarily be involved, but the idea of a bucket list, bucket list of things that I want to accomplish, and how many times, sometimes whatever it might be, if it's a job or some sort of a relationship or whatever that might be, do we get stuck? And it's like a record skipping, an old school record skipping, right? Where the needle needs a penny on it or whatever, so I can get past that skip. I think of things in my life where I have. That's the thing about being a collector. Like, I collect so many things of the things that I'm passionate about. probably as totems a little bit, because when I accomplish something, if I have something that represents whatever that accomplishment is, the thing for the mantelpiece, or the taxidermy head on the wall, proverbially. Um, that's how many times we're wired. And when you always have something that you're shooting for, that's something else that I learned very, very early on in life. If you always have something to look forward to,
Yeah.
life is just a little bit more in color than it was before. Always having to look something to look forward to. Always have a new challenge. Like right now, one of the things that I'm doing is I have a goal where at least once a week I'll do karaoke, and once a week I'll do stand-up comedy. And the
Yes.
third goal is once a week I will write. I've got a Substack channel that I'm just launching right now, and it's not for any other purpose other than the process is the outcome.
Yes.
Last night I was on stage until like at 6 in the morning. Right now where I was on stage till 12:30 last night, and I did some Chili Peppers, and I did some Nirvana, and I did some Pearl Jam, and I did the Killers, and it was awesome. It was just me getting this stuff out. If I do that once a week, the rest of my week is better. For stand up, I have no aspirations of being a stand up comic, but I want to get the discipline under my belt. I want to have 8 solid minutes where if I get in front of any crowd, I can always have that. And that's something I'm shooting for. Once that's done, I've got it. For me, I believe finding something else to shoot for is something that will enrich my life that much more. But many times we get stuck, man. We get in the rut. We get our head down, and we don't pop up, and we're not present. We don't know, because we get the mundaneness of life and the routine and all of that stuff. If we don't do something to get rid of the skip in the record, we're going to be living in black and white.
Yes. Oh boy. This right here. Absolutely. Because what you're describing sort of sounds like it's like an emotional Pez dispenser. You've got to get the candy out of the Pez dispenser. You've got to do these things like your stand-up hour, or you've got to do your 8 minutes, or your time at the karaoke, or your writing on your Substack. These are the things you have to do to make sure that the well continues to empty, so that what you have in there doesn't stagnate. It continues to empty, so the good stuff comes right in behind it. It's almost like flexing a muscle. You continue to exercise and you get stronger and more proficient at all of these things, and it never has a chance to get old. You continue to get these things out of you so that the manna will continue to fill up your vessel and will continue to distribute. And everything that comes out is bigger, better, stronger, fresher than what was in there whenever you first began, because you continue to work that muscle. I love that. And the fact that eventually those may rotate out as well. Okay, great. I've reached what the proficiency I want for, I've got my super solid 8 minutes. So now instead of stand up, I'm going to be practicing guitar, or I'm going to be
Yep.
learning to ride a unicycle. Any number of things just to continue to flex and stretch and make more of the spectrum you have, cerebrally speaking, to continue to make you a more well rounded individual. What a wonderful aspiration.
Yeah, I keep going back to your buddy. Like it'd be so interesting if your buddy could ever admit that to this woman, this woman who's on this pedestal for him. If would he ever be able to have that conversation where he says, you know what, I fixate on you too much, and I don't know why I fixate on you too much, and I
Yeah.
want to explore that. And my gosh, you talk about a living life in color moment. To be able to actually have that conversation with somebody and say, I want to figure out why and explore that and see, and it'd be very. I'm curious to see what the reciprocal response would be when it comes to that. It's funny when it comes to people. I have people in my life that I want to move towards because um, I don't want to call it strategic value. That's not exactly what it is. It's networking, and it is curiosity and exploration. It's like, okay, I want to know what makes you tick. Whether it's a mentor in business, whether it's somebody who's in, um, you know, like again in the Letterman world, that sort of a thing. It's like I want to have a conversation with you. I want to pick your brain, and I find that connection it comes from that the back and forth of exploring who each other are, and when you can have that unbelievable vulnerability and transparency when it comes to that, again, the net result, we're going back to the net result being the unknown of what the universe can add to that, and many times it being something completely different than you ever thought it might be. And yeah, I'm very, very curious about your buddy. I want to find out what ends up happening with that situation. That's an
I keep
interesting one.
waiting. Honestly, because that's the fun. The way that you describe it, it makes it feel as though he has a person in mind that he keeps on a pedestal. It's not an individual that he knows,
Right,
I don't think.
right.
It's one of those things where he just sees these women he perceives to be like a pinnacle of physical beauty, and the thought of that person can sometimes slow him from getting into a long-term serious relationship with someone who is not perhaps the same level strictly
Sure.
physically speaking, but is a plethora of all these wonderful things that would make a fantastic long-term partner. He is his
Yep.
own obstacle because he continues to fantasize. He thinks that getting a taste of the forbidden fruit, or at least the thing that is kept on the pedestal, is going to help him sort of move himself into a new place where he can look at the whole instead of just the part. It's like, okay. And
Yeah, but
honestly,
hold on
I
though.
would
Like, hold on.
love
Like,
to watch that happen.
I would like. That's the thing. The limitation of our own mind. Like, why wouldn't that person potentially be all of the other things for him as well? And to me, that's the limiting belief.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where, I mean, how many times have we heard? And it's I'll say this specifically. It's women. One of my best friends. Okay, his name is Mike Brody. Shout out to Mike Brody.
Shout
He's one
out.
of my best buddies. He's okay. He's got cancer. Okay. He's been my best friend for like almost 30 years. He's just this amazing, amazing guy, and he's living with it. It's one of those things where he's in a situation where cancer probably isn't going to kill him when he does pass on and go to that next level, that next place. But he'll die with cancer. It's one of those situations. And Mike went through a divorce, and and he got remarried. And I was blessed enough to be asked to perform the ceremony. This is a couple of New Year's Eves ago. They got married on New Year's Eve. It was the best New Year's party ever. And I performed the ceremony. And one of the things when he met Letitia, um, about 3 or 4 months into them dating, Mike and I were at an event. I'm a pro wrestling promoter. I have a pro wrestling promotion. We can get into that if we want to. But anyway, so
Yeah.
we're before before one of our events. There's a lot of downtime, and so the venue was set up. Everything was good. All the chairs were there, and Mike was kind of my right hand man. Whenever you do a project, if you can bring your best friend on and they could be your right hand man, boy, that's a phenomenal thing. And so I'm asking him how things are going with he and Letitia. And he just starts shaking his head. I'm like, what? And he pulls out, he goes, I want to show you something. And this was the crux of, Letitia didn't know that he did this. And I revealed it the night I performed their wedding ceremony a couple of years later. They were together 2 or 3 years before they got married. And he pulls out this piece of paper. And on this piece of paper is a list of attributes of a man. And going through the list of attributes, almost all of them described my boy, Mike Brody. And he looked at this, he said, when Letitia went through her divorce, one of the lessons that she learned and one of the exercises she went through with her counselor was to write down a list of the attributes that you want in your perfect partner moving forward. And I'm looking at it, and he told me that after I read the list, because I read the list and I'm like, oh, this seems like just like you, man. And he's like, yeah. She wrote that list 3 years before she met Mike. And I think about your friend, and it's like, well, wait a second. Why can't all of those things be on the list? And you talk about this quote unquote 10, this person, this unachievable person. Well, imagine if they were the unachievable person, but then they also had a laundry list of all of his other 10 out of 10 attributes, the ones where he feels worthy, that he could deserve those things. And imagine
Yup.
showing that list to that woman and what that would be like. But again, that's not something that men necessarily gravitate towards. But to me, I love that he is so in touch with himself that he can think that way. And my hope for him, I don't even know who this person is in your life, but my hope for him is that he finds somebody that is the level of 10 is in every single category, and that's who he ends up with.
Well, he and I are relatively new friends, so we are
Yeah,
just getting under that top layer of skin to get to the
yeah,
vulnerability. Well, he will share these things that you don't necessarily want everybody else knowing. And we will continue
yeah.
to finesse this idea about, well, why wouldn't this person be a long-term partner? Why couldn't you find this person? Da, 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 da. And we will continue to sort of like mold that. We'll
Yeah.
make that a lump of clay because right now it's still really difficult for him to even wrap his head around the fact that perhaps he can find this woman with whom to have this intimate relation with. It's like, okay, cool. So, yeah, you can't push too quick. People get scared and run away. So, we're just getting into the shallow end, but we continue to make our steps toward the deep end of the pool. It's okay.
Is he a native over there, or
He is
is he
not.
a transplant as well?
He is also a transplant. He is European, but he is a transplant.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, he is not the first person I've heard speak exactly like this. This is the second one of my closer friends here that has said almost identical situations. Not necessarily about getting past the fantasy, but as far as expressing an idea that they just want to have that experience before they decide to settle, quote unquote, for
Yeah.
whatever comes next. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. They're also both men of science, making it
Uh
very
huh.
difficult to let a little faith in humanity kind of come to the forefront because they're very much
Yeah.
evidence based, etc. Which I get. I 100% understand that. Whenever you deal in ones and zeros and maths and sciences and laws day in, day out, it's a little hard to let go of all of that to put your faith in something that's a little bit more nebulous.
Yeah.
Great. But I think a little more exposure to somebody like me may bend that boundary a little.
It
That's my
will.
hope.
It sure.
That's my hope.
It sure. It really will. You know, it's funny. I'm grateful for those people. I'm so grateful for those people, and I'm also grateful I'm not one of those people. And I say that with all due respect. All due
Yes.
respect to the analytical. Those people in this world. I'm so grateful for them. But I love having a little bit of woo woo, and
Yeah.
it's that little universal, intangible, the energetic stuff, and I love the reaction on those people's faces. When I talk about the idea, hey, let's raise the vibration today. What can we do
Yeah.
to raise the vibration of this? They just kind of look at me like I'm just. And
Like,
I like being that guy. I like being the guy where people kind of look and go, oh man, I don't know. But many times when you explore the, well, I don't know, good things happen. Yet it's at the same time, I'm grateful for those people because they help keep me grounded.
yeah.
And isn't it cool when you can, the alchemy of relationship and connection, isn't it the greatest thing in the world?
It's so fun. We
Yeah.
approach it tentatively to begin with, and then we all of a sudden we hit this point. It's almost like the tipping point. You're just like, oh, okay, now we're going down the hill. I got nowhere to go. I got no brakes on this bike. Let's go. All right, here we are.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Hell or high water.
That's
We're
ex-
heading right towards the lake. So let's just giggity go. Yeah. Because I often find myself in a really sticky situation because I overshare. I am a chronic
yeah.
oversharing human being. Like if
Yeah.
someone asks me a question, if this is somebody I feel even remotely safe doing it, I will absolutely just dump my guts on the table. Not
Yeah.
necessarily because I want to, I'm not afraid of it. It just feels to
Mm-hmm.
me like, okay, I'll show you my vulnerability if it gives me a better opportunity of seeing what's inside your very special moment. If that's what you need is a show of trust, is me to put my skin in the game first, I will gladly, because it's one of those things too where I've shown it so often that if someone tries to hurt me through it, I've been there before. I'll survive it again. And for
Oh
others, it
yeah.
feels like it could be one of the first times, and I take that trust very seriously. So if they want to share something like that with me, I was like, okay, cool. Now we're getting under a few layers. This is great. My eyes are starting to tear because this is deeper inside your onion. So okay, how are we feeling? You okay? And you can tell they're a little skittish. Like, no, I don't like this at all. It's like, yeah, nobody likes the
Mm-hmm.
first time. I said, but then again, you get used to it and you start to feel comfortable and safe and trusting, and then you are able to get a little stronger with what you offer. And the fear sort of like gets taken over by a sense of security that someone is able to help you build. So the next time you have to do this, there won't be good people in your corner every time you decide to share that. And some people will try to use that against you. The best news is hopefully there's going to be at least one or two before you meet that person that will help you build a foundation around it, under it, that will make it strong enough so that you can continue to be tender without
Mm-hmm.
being so incredibly wounded should they use it for something other than benevolence.
Oh God, I love listening to you talk. Yeah, I mean, It's funny to go back to the very beginning. There isn't a week that goes by where I say I'm sorry. I'm sorry for verbally throwing up on you. I
It
say that to people all the time, and
all the
and
time.
and, and I can hear, I can, as you're saying that, I can hear myself doing it weekly, whether it's one of my clients, whether it's a friend, and it's always been that way. I don't know. I've got this. I believe that I know the answer to this question. Growing up, for you, were you friends with a lot of girls or women when
Oh
you were
yeah.
growing up? Yeah, me
Oh yeah,
too.
because
And
guys
and,
wouldn't
and,
have
and so
anything to do with me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, I had both. I had both. I was
'Cause-
part of the rugby team, and I was in the band. I was a trombone player and a singer and all that stuff. So
Yes,
I did
yes.
have interaction. I did have interaction with people, but I gravitated. See, growing up in the 80s and 90s, one of the best days of my life was when my mom and dad let me have a phone in my room, and I mean, I would talk with my female friends for hours and hours, and it was lovely because I didn't even realize at the time, but vulnerability is a superpower, especially in men. It is a
Especially men.
superpower, and
Yes.
so I was introduced to the idea organically of being vulnerable, the give and take of these conversations where yeah, we could say, how about them cowboys? Sure, we could have that kind of, but it would go way deeper than that. And music was another thing. So I mean, I had a couple of female friends where we would just talk about some of the latest, cassette tapes we had bought, and the music that we were into, and watching, MTV, or the United States is MTV, up in Canada it was something called Much Music. We would connect over these things that affected us, because music affects people, right? That's one of the
Yes.
things, or movies, or pop culture, whatever it was. And we would talk about these things, but then it'd springboard into, well, how does this make you feel and why? And talking about those things was such a beautiful, beautiful experience as a teenager, and it just carried into adulthood. These connections that you're talking about here, when we can throw something out there and then reciprocally allow somebody to maybe take a step or two closer to vulnerability, and they can do the same thing. It's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. I think we talked about this when you were on HeatCast, but for me, if there's 10 people, when they first meet me, 5 out of 10 of those people will be like, wow, look at this guy. He's got, some of them would say, well, he's got charisma, or I really like him. He's a really kind guy. He's fun to talk to. He's a ball of energy. 2 or 3 people would be hanging back going, okay, is this guy for real? And then there'd be 2 people who would just repel, like two magnets that would never ever come together. They just push away from each other. That was me. I figured that was you. You kind of confirmed that.
Yeah.
But the 2 or 3 people who were like hanging back going, I wonder about this guy. I really feel like what we're talking about enriches those people, because it gives them, whether they know it or not, it gives them the ability to step forward and become a little bit more vulnerable. And boy, we need that in this world today. There's so much going on. It's a complex place, but there is so much joy inside that complexity. As the
Yes.
world, has a lot of problems, and you've got a bunch of people who are not involved in our lives, that are causing problems for other people. The way I see it is, our job is to be a light. And I look at what
Yes.
you're doing. You are a light, James. I know that you know that, but I just want to say it to you, because there are days where the lights get diminished. And I mean, you're at the end of your day. I'm at the beginning of my day. You're at the end of your day. And I hope that throughout these next couple conversations that you have, um, I hope you know how much of a light you are, and how much of a light this show is. And
Thank you.
because, yeah, a fisherman can always recognize another fisherman, and that's our job. And I hope that you feel a little bit more lit up after today talking about this stuff. I really, really do.
Definitely. Well, it's always so nice to be able to be validated. I don't go
Mm.
searching for it. Please don't get me wrong, because no matter what, I'm going to shine this light. It's not me trying to be, hey, look over here. It's just like, this is why I'm here. This is
Yeah.
what I was meant to do. The reason I know that is because I walk away from these things feeling 10 feet tall. There is something shining inside me whenever I get to finish these kinds of conversations. Just like, yeah, this is it. Now, I may not make a ton of money doing it. I may not do any of these other things. But what I do know is that whenever I walk away from it, someone who
Yeah.
has heard it, someone who has had a chance to experience what we're doing here at Radical Joy and CLW Studios, is going to be nourished by what we do. And those 2 to 3 people that you were talking about earlier, the ones that are sort of on the fence, is this guy for real?
Yeah.
I love those people because they play their cards really close to the vest. I
Yep.
don't need to know that I've swayed anyone, okay?
No.
If I hear it, oh my God, sends me into orbit. It's the best thing ever. I don't need to know because those 2 to 3 that are still trying to figure it out are in a very open place to be very positively influenced. And whenever
Hmm.
they see that what we're trying to do here, and I think what we're succeeding many times, is just doing good for people by just not letting all these other things that could very easily throw us into a deep, dark despair, we just float on
Yep.
top of it. Because some days we have no other choice. It's either it's sink or swim, and the
Yep.
sink literally means drown. It doesn't mean just go under the surface and come back up spluttering and gasping for breath. For many of us, it could literally mean the difference between living to see another day. And what I want that to be for them is just the fact that if they're getting a little too close to under the water, that's going to give them just a little bit of buoyancy. It's going to bop that head right above the water. And they don't have to do or look or pay any kind of credit. What I want them to do is just feel it. And it gives them just enough of that lift so they can keep on trucking. And maybe someday they can. Maybe someday they will want to say
Hmm.
something about it. But if not, knowing that quietly it does something for someone is a huge flex and an incredible point of pride for us here at Radical Joy.
Man, to stay on the nautical theme for a second here, I always go back and I put it through the lens of he changed it and what we're doing at HeCast and the idea. There's a lot of guys out there. You talk about sinking and swimming. I love that you talk about the idea that hey, it's not just sink, it's drown.
It's
And
drown.
and 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 you think about how many men specifically, how many men are living the quiet life of desperation. And if you're going to use that analogy, they're a duck. And when you think about a duck on the water, right, especially if there's any current in that water, you look, and it might even be majestic. You see a mallard, a beautiful mallard. It's
Yes.
majestic and beautiful, right? The green and the blue. It's like wow. But when you look under the surface of the water, that duck is kicking as hard as they possibly can. So all
Yes.
over the surface, they look beautiful. The feathers are well coiffed, right? But under the
Yes.
water, man, those little webbed feet are just kicking and kicking and kicking and kicking. And having the attitude that you're talking about here, those 2 or 3 people that are there, and they're just kicking, and they don't want anyone to know. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
we're all in the same boat. Again, man, the nautical examples are really all there. We're all in the same boat, and we see you. It's not the fact that people always say. I love when people they don't confront me too much on it because they know that most people do know that I'm extremely authentic, and
Yes.
I choose to be that way because life is too darn short not to be, right? I'm not going to pretend that I'm someone that I'm not, and so once they realize that the idea of toxic positivity that doesn't live anywhere near me, not even close. And I know it's the
Correct.
same way for you, right? There's that
Yeah.
authenticity because if you can show that person who's just kicking under the water as much as they can to stay on top and to make it look like everything looks beautiful, right?
Yeah.
If you can just
Yeah.
show them that a little bit of that authenticity can go a long way into shortening the stride or shortening how fast you got to kick those legs.
Agree. Oh my gosh. Well, and that's the thing we try to do here too. Like, hey, whenever I have a shitty day, I can say that. I can
Yep.
100% walk right up to the microphone and be like, you know what, today has been really a crock of horse.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, tomorrow, snacking a nap, I'm going to be right as rain again. Right now, I'm ready to take a swing at somebody who just looks at me funny. Honest to God. Let me just like crack somebody right in the temple. And that is not me most days. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean to say that we don't go through cycles, that we don't have these kind of, capability. Yeah, I try to be,
Yep.
sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows as much as I possibly can. And then there are days where I'm ready to cloud up and rain on somebody just because
Absolutely.
they have caught me at exactly the wrong moment. It's so important, especially to men. And I would love to transition into more about talking about what it is that you're doing with men's mental wellness,
Yeah. Yeah.
how it is so important to show that you can be vulnerable and still be incredibly strong. Those are not opposites. That is not a
No.
dichotomy. What
No.
that is someone has taught you this, and you need to explore that just a little bit more carefully. Because you've just taken something as truth because somebody told you this whenever they were in a position of authority over you, and that deserves a little more exploration. Vulnerability is one of the scariest, most vulnerable. It exposes you to so much harm that you're not used to enduring.
Yeah.
As men, we often get physical harm all the time. We smash our hands on whatever. We may get in
Hmm.
fights. We may, drop something on our toe at the gym. Any number of things that can cause us physical harm. And we're used to that because we often put ourselves in situations where that is pretty commonplace. Emotional harm is something that we guard much more closely.
Yeah.
In order to grow in strength from that, we have to expose ourselves. We have to be vulnerable for that in order to build that strength as well. Just as important, if not more so, because things that come out of nowhere to attack your emotional well being or health can blindside you far worse than something physical.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think with men many times, the whether it's the stereotype or if it's just the way that we're wired, the physical is something that we can grasp. The intangibles, the almost borderline whimsical stuff, the emotional stuff, much much less difficult or much more difficult, I should say, to see, and therefore to anticipate. So I'm just going to go into my little shell. By the way, a nap and a snack, and I'm nap and a snack. I'm going to take that, and that's going in. That's going in my my vocabulary now. I
Take it,
appreciate that.
have it.
I look at the movie. I always go back to movies and things in pop culture where I think they provide beautiful modern day analogies or parables even. And I go back to the movie Eminem's movie 8 Mile, and
Okay.
I go back to the climax of that movie. It's when I'm in a low place and I need to raise my vibration. I'll go into whether it's music that I love or maybe the scene of a movie that I love or comfort food, whatever the sensory comfort food that I have in my life. Those little things, and one of the things is probably the last 15 minutes of the movie 8 Mile with Marshall Mathers, and I think about he's in a battle rap situation, and how does he get out of it? This is the climax of the movie, and he's got these guys that have just been oppressing him the entire show, his entire life, and he knows he's got the skill to take things to the next level. He knows he's dominant. He knows he's fantastic. He's got it inside. He's got this fire burning inside of him, and the last battle rap that he has. He goes through a couple of guys using his skill, and this last guy is an insurmountable guy. That guy slept with his girlfriend, and that guy he's the top dog of that area. He's already got a record deal of some sort. He's always rolling in it. And Marshall, the way he gets through that scene is he goes radically vulnerable, and he melodically talks about all of the things that are wrong in his life, all of the things that he has failed at, all of the things, including the guy, sleeping with his girl, all of that stuff. And then he throws him the microphone and he goes, "Hey, okay, now tell them all something they don't know about me." And isn't that a beautiful analogy for life? Whereas we can strip that stuff down, and it is a superpower. Vulnerability is a superpower. And if we expose some of this stuff and we do it with a pure heart, and coming from a pure place. And sometimes it's at a rock bottom moment. And that's why you'll hear people who have radical success, they talk about that radical success starting at a rock bottom moment. And many times that rock bottom moment includes radical vulnerability. And
Yeah.
and, and I just love what you said about that, because it doesn't necessarily come naturally to men. That's what he changed it is all about. He changed it it's a men's mental wellness app
Yeah.
that my wife at the time founded, and her team are building this. The app exists already. It's in beta form, but guys are using it all the time. You go to hechangeit.com and you can find all the details for that. But it's a place that men can go, and the whole premise of it. I could go into the whole why it exists or whatnot, but like the World Health Organization calls men's mental health the world's number one silent killer. 7 out of 10 suicides are middle-aged men.
Yeah.
But that's a terrible stat, and it really, really is. But I think about the legions of men who are living quiet lives of desperation, who are
Yes.
in the rut, who don't pop their head up, they're not present, and they're just swimming. They're just really trying to paddle their feet under the water as fast as they can. And you think about all the heart attacks, the stress, all of these things. By the way, when you take emotional things and you stuff them down, like men have been taught to do, where that exists for a reason. Guys do that, right?
Yeah.
It's going to come
Yes.
out in another way. It might come out in cancer. It might come out in a heart attack. It might come out in domestic or checking out, not being able to live a vibrant life, right?
Yes.
And so the idea, if he changed it, it's a place where guys can go and they can leave something that they know and they can take something that they need.
Yeah.
And it's peer to peer. It's not advice necessarily, but it's perspectives. And if a guy has gone through a divorce and another guy is just on the precipice of going through one, and you can hear perspectives from people who have been through it, especially the fact is that everything is temporary and you're going to be okay. That guy can take something that he needs. See, here's the thing about vulnerability with men. Men naturally are vulnerable, but it's coming from a place of strength. So the old example is this. Back in the day, before we knew what a GPS was, before our telephone was like the Swiss Army knife of technology, and it does all these crazy, crazy things instead of just make telephone calls. Back in the day, we had to use actually physical maps. There was no such thing even as a GPS back in the day, right? And
Right.
men had the stereotype where we would not ask for directions. Why? Because it showed weakness. Here's the thing about that, though. And it's true. It's true. Many
Oh,
men
yeah.
would
Oh, very
refuse to
much.
ask for directions, right? It's a
Sure.
true
Yeah.
stereotype. Here's the thing. What about when you're the guy where somebody asks the directions? Most of the time, guys want to help.
Yeah.
Most of the time, if we know the answer to that, but guess what? That's vulnerability.
Yeah.
When we take time out of our day to stop everything to go, okay, well, hold on a second. I'm going to show you where it is, or I'm going to draw you that map, or I'm going to give you detailed directions of landmarks, whatever it is, that's vulnerability too. And so many times men are very willing to be vulnerable when they come from a place of strength, but coming from a place of weakness, that's where it's like, whoa. But it's a reciprocal energy exchange. And if you can wrap
Yes.
your mind around the idea of saying, hey, I'm in need here today, not that I'm weak, not that I want somebody
Yes.
to do everything for me, not that I'm not a man. No, all those things are, I am in a place of need.
Yes.
You can boldly be in that place. It will lead to cool things. But
Yes.
burying it down, and being in denial about it, you're going to deny yourself of those cool things.
Yeah. Well, and that's a really interesting point that you bring up about being it offering the help is also a point of vulnerability. It also plays into the masculine sense of need for provision because you
Yes.
are
Oh my gosh,
providing a
yes.
service, you are being of service, you are useful, which is very masculine, man oriented stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of asking it, because requesting it almost seems it takes on a feel of the feminine because the acceptance almost gives that energy of it. It's just it's hard to break out of something like that because we have been, like you said, hardwired for it. It is
Mm-hmm.
conditioned. It is built into eons of DNA.
Yep.
It's just like, great, our ancestors were guided by the stars or whatever. And now, we've got the thing that I can mount on the dashboard and it gets me everywhere I need to go. Always cracks me up that people continue to give me landmarks and these kind of things. I'm like, sir, all I need is the address. You can stop after that. I appreciate it. That's lovely. What a wonderful way to like add some frill to it. That's a beautiful flourish you've given me. But all I really need is the street name and number and I'm golden. And I think trying to tap into that vulnerability, something you said a little earlier as well, exposing yourself fully. So there is nothing left to be weaponized against you because you have been the one to divulge
Mm-hmm.
is so important. I don't think men really understand the level of strength that takes and just exactly how much weaponry it removes from someone who could potentially be an opponent in the future. I hate looking at it that way. I think some people do that from a place that they don't feel that's what's happening, but it does take on an adversarial feel in some places. If you have literally shared everything there is to share, that you would consider embarrassing or tender or put you in a vulnerable spot, there's nothing left in the tank to hurl at you.
Yep. I
You're done. You
yeah.
build
Yeah.
from bone and
Yep.
continue to go from there. If we
Um,
could start looking at it something more like that, I think that a lot of people would be a lot less scared. People are so terrified that someone's going to find out their dirtiest, darkest secret. And you could tell some of your women that, like tell your lady friends that, or your girlfriend or your wife or whatever, and they're like, seriously? This is the hang up? And if I had a nickel for every time somebody's done that to me, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, bleh. Okay, and then I expect her to run away or like slam the door in my face or be any other kind of thing, and she just laughs. She's like, "That is the funniest thing." Not that
Yeah.
it's funny because I know it's important to you and it's very vulnerable of you to share it, but it's just funny
Sure.
to think that something that you just said would make you think that I would think less of you for sharing it. And it's reduced to the ridiculous, and I love it. It takes an enormous weight off our shoulders. It's almost a little maddening, to be honest, because at the end you're just like, oh, I could have I could have had this burden off my heart so much earlier,
Yeah.
and I just
I think of
didn't because I was scared.
well, that's just it. It's always the fear of the event is almost always worse than the event itself,
Amen.
because you know
That.
you've gotten to this point in your life, and you've gotten through things where you look back and go, man, I can't believe I got through that. Most of us have that experience where we can look back and go, I can't believe I got through that. Well, how did you get through it? One moment at a time, and that's how it happens. How do we eat an elephant one bite at a time? You know, and then
Yes.
it comes down to self love and self respect and self care, and also the perspective of the idea. Like you think about, again, most of us who are listening to this have somebody in our life that we would consider a good friend. Okay, and I want you to think about how I think maybe even you and I talked about this when you were on HeCast. It does come up from it does come up quite a bit with no matter who our guests are. This idea that you think about one of your favorite people in your life who's maybe gone through something, and you know, as they've gone through it, like, and using your example, being the person on the receiving end, that gal that you just referred to who kind of laughs a little bit, you know, you think about that. How many times have we been a friend to somebody where that friend has been going through something and they go through something, and maybe it is a colossal mistake of some sort, maybe they screwed up, okay, and they screwed up, and maybe it was even in a big public way, something that is a quote unquote cancelable effect in this day and age. And I don't like the fact that that word has so much power over so many people, because really at the end of the day, when you really put reality into things, most of us know somebody that is colossally screwed up, and we've stood by them. Not only that, we've not only stood by them, but you think about the attitude towards a friend that you have that went through some trouble. How did you feel about that person? Most of the time, there was forgiveness. Most of the time, there was love. Most of the time, there was support. Most of the time, there was reassurance. You think about how you treat your best friend when they're going through something. What if you could treat yourself that way? What if you
Yeah.
could actually give the love, tenderness, forgiveness, and grace to your best friend? What if you could give that to yourself?
Yeah.
How much better of a world would it be if that were the case?
Honest to God, this right here. That's it. Why in the world are we so willing and ready and in ample supply give so much grace to everyone around us and still be so unbelievably harsh on ourselves? Excellent question. Fantastic point. And I wish I had a good answer for you. We are always harping on that here. Like, look, you've got to make sure that you take care of yourself first. You are the vessel from which all of these other blessings flow. You've got to make sure you're in good repair. You've got to give yourself love. You've got to give yourself time and space to continue to refill, like that manna we were talking about earlier with your spiritual Pez machine, Pez
Mm-hmm.
dispenser. You just have to. It's not selfish. It's literally, if I want to help, I've got to make sure I'm operating from a healthy place.
Yes.
And it's hard because just like you're talking about the whole idea of cancellation, we're already terrified to show any kind of sympathy or tenderness or vulnerability without that idea looming in the distance on the horizon. Add
Mm-hmm.
that to it, that's just one more shell layer to keep us from really cracking open to show our full hearts to someone that we love and value and respect. And it just makes it that much more difficult for men to reach out and make those connections so that they can feel safe doing it. which
Yeah.
is, I'm sure, exactly what y'all are doing with He Changed It.
Well, we're sure trying. It's funny the idea of cancellation. I think it's all just amplification of
Yeah.
things that have been around forever. You go back. I'm pretty practical when it comes to things like the Bible. The stuff that's crazy. The wheel within the wheel flying in the air talked about in Ezekiel. Okay, that's a fun image. That's really, really cool. But I also love the Proverbs and the actual truth behind things. There's a verse in the Bible that talks about, do not judge lest thee be judged. And I think many times people will take that and they will put an eternal spin on that concept. If I judge others, God's going to judge me and he's going to smite me. I think it's a common sense thing. I think if we have an attitude of judgment towards people, people will have that attitude of judgment towards us.
Yes.
And if we put down our spear of judgment and we say, hey, you know what? All of us are imperfect. No matter what, I'm not going to judge you. We can turn down the temperature of cancellation or judgment or whatever it is. The internet has connected us. We have hyperconnectivity, and it's a
Mhm.
good thing and it's a bad thing. But when we have, imperfection is a hot potato, and we want to try and throw the potato of our imperfection onto others and start judging others for that. Well, to me, that's short-sighted because all of us are imperfect. All of us have screwed up. Most of us have screwed up colossally at one way or another, and we can either try and sweep it under the rug out of fear of who, fear of a whole bunch of people who we don't know,
We don't
and
know
and,
them.
and even celebrities that are out there, right? Looking at it
Sure.
practically, it's like, did I lose the people that are closest to me? That was one or two people. Okay, yeah, I may have 200,000 or 300,000 people that are following me, or whatever. If there's somebody who is in that sphere, that place, but how many of those people are you really connected with? No, that's your
Yep.
business. That's what you do for a living, and that's the world that you live in. But really, you're going to go back and you're going to have those two or three friends, like we all do, that aren't going to judge you for your imperfections, but they're friends with you almost because of your imperfections, the idiosyncrasies that you bring, the uniqueness that you bring to this world, including the flaws, if you want to call it that.
Yes.
I don't know as we should call it that. The areas that we're working on, I think, is probably a better way to go. The
Sure.
areas
Well,
of
the
the
thing that keeps you from
journey.
being a cookie cutter.
There you go. Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yes.
So to me, judgment is one of those things where if we could just turn the volume down on that a little bit, judge of lest thee be judged. Okay, so I'm not going to have a harsh judgment on you, and I'm going to expect it. I don't get a harsh judgment back.
Exactly. No, I agree wholeheartedly. It's always so fun to me. I grew up in a very conservative Christian background, and I was very to the letter of the law kind of situation. And I see a lot of that today
Ah,
too, that are still in like older generations. Like, no, it's our job to mission unto people and to preach the gospel. And da da da. I was like, okay, preaching the gospel is one thing, missioning to others is another. I said, judgment was very clear. That was
yeah,
very clear exactly what was supposed to happen with that. Also, it depends on whether we're coming from Old Testament or New Testament. Are we coming from a position of judgment and damnation, or are we coming from a place of forgiveness, love, and acceptance? You tell me which
mm,
one you would prefer to be looked at. Through
right.
which lens would you prefer to be inspected, friend? Tell me all about it, and I will gladly move forward from there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, cancellation, I would love to posit if this happens to one of us, I don't think I'm really important enough for this to worry about, to be fair. I think that if something like that were to happen, because no matter what I say, someone out there is going to take umbrage with some of it. They're not going to think I'm real. They're not going to think that I'm
Yeah,
authentic. They're not thinking my voice is sincere. Super
yeah,
cool. They, try their best or they succeed in quote unquote canceling me. Okay, cool. What does that mean? That means that I continue doing what I'm doing. That means I just
yeah.
keep on making episodes of Radical Joy. It means I keep on putting what I'm doing into the world because eventually people will understand that there is, again, a tipping point we must overcome. Is it an obstacle? Of course it is. I can't turn a blind eye to it. What I can say is that the power of what we're trying to do here can overcome that when more people start to understand and realize we have attention focused on it now because of that issue. And the more they know and the more they learn moving forward, the more they realize, oh, this is just someone who took a very specific moment in time, did not understand exactly what was going on, and we just keep on trucking.
It it's like a shield if we're able to do
Yeah.
that. It's like it's an immunity badge. If
Yeah.
if, if you know, I had a situation where through somebody else's untruths, through they lied about me, and in that it affected two or three other relationships, and they've since been restored, and it was literally me just keep on trucking. And but again, you combine it with the idea of vulnerability. So I kept on trucking for a while, and then I saw one of these people that believed the lie about me,
Mhm.
and I just said to them, and some would say this is courageous. It's not really. Again, acted via faith and faithfully given to you. It was how I felt, and so I said it, and I might have stammered a little bit because it was a difficult thing, but it was one of those things where you've got this social awkwardness with somebody, and then you maybe see them on the street or something like that, and you could choose, maybe they're coming towards you, and you could choose to walk to the other side of the street, or you could choose to stay in the fire,
Yeah.
and let them come by, and you can actually go, whoa, here we are in one of these moments, right? And you're not in
Yeah.
the rut at that point. You're present. You're present, and time even slows down a little bit. And it was very
Yeah.
simply, hey, if you ever want to hear my side of the story, I'm here for you. But until then, I'm going to keep living my life. And really, at the end of the day, what's the net result of that? Empowerment. No matter
Yes.
what happens, no matter what their reaction is, right? Because you have
Yeah.
actually stood up for yourself. Now, in this case, person said, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "There's another side of that story," and that was it. That was it. It didn't. I didn't need to over-explain it in that situation. I literally left the door open. If they wanted to walk through it, they could. If they chose not, in this case, they did. If they chose not to, guess what? I'm walking taller, I'm feeling stronger, and I've got empowerment throughout that day. Because no matter what, I'm going to keep being me. Like you said, I'm going to keep hosting episodes of Radical Joy. That's exactly right. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. Keep shooting for that. Don't let yourself be pushed back, despite the fact that it's adversity. Adversity, if you're in the gym, is just an extra 5 pounds, whatever it is, an extra set. Emotional adversity, relationship adversity, many times feels like it's much more tender, but it's not. If you push through it and you have the right technique and you have the right goal in mind, it's the same thing, and you're going to get the same net result, just in a different way than physically.
Ooh, I love a gym metaphor now. When you start talking plates and barbells, you got my attention, friend. I'm up in it. Earlier we had some nautical fun. I was like, yeah, I can get on board a boat. But boy, you take me to the gym where it smells like sweat, rust, and disappointment. I'm here for it. Like, yeah,
That's right.
yes,
That's part of my day to day too. Like at 11 a.m. I got a couple of meetings at the office, and at 11 a.m. I'm going out with my trainer, and
yeah,
and and that's what we do. We're doing just weights, and boy, I mean, whether it's a metaphor like what we're talking about here, or the actual physical. Yeah, if you're going through something, that's another way that you can get that out too. By the way, for guys who
yes,
are pushing things down, yes, the vulnerability card is awesome, but so too is the physical card. You go and you can physically exert your body, whatever that looks like. It may be kettlebells, it may be a machine, it may be running, it may be whatever that physical exertion is. It might be a sport, it might be a team sport. Who knows? Whatever
yeah,
that physical exertion is, the results are going to be way, way, way more expansive than just your body. It helps your
yes.
mind and your heart as well.
Well, and I also find that after a particularly nasty workout, I am incredibly emotionally vulnerable, or at least in a place where I'm
Absolutely.
ready to share that more readily.
Yep.
Because all of my facade, all of my artifice is gone. It's
Yep.
literally in the puddle of sweat I've left on the floor. It is in the breath that I cannot catch at the moment.
Yes.
I am just absolutely spent. There is nothing left to protect that soft, gooey center because it has all been destroyed in that last 57 minutes of desperate plea for self improvement. And so that is a point whenever I'm with my guys or my girls, whoever it is that I'm working with, and I can hug them and swap sweat because we are
Mm-hmm.
absolutely melting. And it's disgusting and nourishing and thoroughly fortifying at every single moment. And like, James, you can let go of me now. I said, I don't know that I can. I said, I might fall to the floor. I'll be honest with you. I said, this has been amazing. And it's just always so fun to watch the way people's defenses fall, whether it's
Yeah.
all at once or tiny crumbles that eventually fall away to expose, again, that gooey, warm center. But then whenever it's down, before they can rebuild, to sneak in there and let them know that showing it isn't going to be the end of their world,
Yeah.
and that I am somewhere safe for them to share. Not always. I understand that. Not everyone is at a place where they want to or can all times. I get that. What I want to do is continue to show up and build that trust and that faith that when they come to the point where they need to share that, they know where they can go.
That's about being a safe space, right?
That's it.
And again, it's back to that analogy of the self care or whatever. Like many times, we will be the safe space for somebody else. You know, be in touch with yourself enough to know that you need to go to a safe space and find out
Yeah.
what those safe spaces are. Identify them and know them. And again, that's a power up. Anytime that you want it, that safe space is there for you. And many times, when do we need a power up? Well, when we're depleted. Let's go to a video game analogy, right? Like you need
Yeah.
that magic mushroom every once in a while to get big again. And that's what a safe space is. And if you know what your safe spaces are, and you're in touch with yourself enough, or you're present enough to know when you need to go to those safe spaces, boy, oh boy, that's again, that's another one of those little life hacks where you can literally transform where you are into where you want to be.
Agree. Oh,
Yeah.
man. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today on Radical Joy. It is always so great to talk to you. Whether at your house or mine, man, you are always welcome. The mat is out, the coffee is brewing. You come by any time.
The feeling is more than reciprocal. Like again, I can't wait. I think I want you on the show every quarter, at least once a quarter. I need a little dose of James to get. And I mean, I
I,
listen to the show. I listen to your show. I love your show. And it wasn't Lit Motion at the beginning. You are making the world a better place. Thank you so much. Thanks to Carrie in the background for doing a lot of the heavy lifting and all the stuff that's happening. Like literally, I appreciate Radical Joy so much, and I appreciate where it comes from, the heart that it comes from. James, thank you so much for being a light in this world, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words, friend. I appreciate it. I really do. Hearing that from someone I feel as a mirror makes me so happy. Thank you for that. To all of our
Much love.
listeners out there, please make sure you check the show notes because I want to make sure that we just absolutely fill your eyes and ears with as much information about what Mike and his group are doing at He Changed It and He Cast. It's an incredible group of people that are working to make things easier for men's mental wellness. And in this day and age, who couldn't use a little bit of help? Just reaching out and connecting people who have similar experiences to make sure no one feels alone. If this is your first episode with us here at Radical Joy, friends, thank you so much for joining us. If this is not your first episode, what a wonderful time to join. Huge thanks to Mike and He Cast and He Changed It. Always a pleasure to have you, friend. And please, anybody and everybody out there within the sound of my voice, please never forget just exactly how much we love you all. This episode isn't here to fix you. It's just here to sit with you for a bit and maybe remind you that you're allowed to go after what lights you up, even if you don't know how it ends. Welcome to Season 4. We're really, really glad you're here. I am not a therapist or a medical professional. If you're experiencing a mental health emergency, please call 988 to reach the National Crisis Lifeline. This content and other content produced by CLW Studios and affiliated partners is not therapy, and nothing in this content indicates a therapeutic relationship. Any opinions of guests on this podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of James or CLW Studios. Please consult with your therapist or seek one in your area if you're experiencing mental health symptoms. Everything in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only.